Greetings, everybody. It's Jim. You younger role players, I'm not surprised you got into role playing at all. I mean, there's a number of reasons for it. Dungeons and Dragons is a classic game. Wizards of the Coast is just a juggernaut when it comes to marketing, etc., etc., etc. But the main reason I think that is the catalyst for all of this happened way back in 2001, and that is the Harry Potter series, whether it be the books, the movies, whatnot. It was a generational just phenomenon, and you guys just ate it up, and you were just primed to later on play Dungeons and Dragons and just get involved into it. And not only just the guys like it was before, it got all the girls involved as well. So that had a lot to do with role playing of what's going on now. And this is why I think everybody that got into Harry Potter as a kid and was motivated by this stuff really wants to read the Trail School of Martial Magic. This is the Dungeons and Dragons version of Hogwarts. Now, it's made for the Fantasy Trip role-playing game, but that's just statistics. You can easily adapt all the information that's really cool into your campaign. And I'm going to be talking about an adventure for this, so don't go away yet, because you can get them both at the same time on this Kickstarter that I'm going to be talking about. But the Trail School of Martial Magic has talks about curriculums, of course, the teachers with their own history, the school with its own history. They even have a team sport. It's not Quidditch, but it's their wizardly duels, and their team is called the Black Stars, and they're pretty good. They don't win every year, but it adds drama. So basically, it gives you the building blocks to make your own Harry Potter-esque, adventure or background for your campaign. Now, the adventure I'm going to be talking to you today, though, does a lot of the work for you. That's why I want you to look at both before you click away and get that, which I really think you should. I'm going to be talking to you today about Path to Mastery, the adventure, based on the Trail School of Martial Magic by David Pulver for Steve Jackson Games. Path to Mastery follows one character in a programmed adventure on their senior year in the Trail School of Martial Magic. Now, the idea is they're a transfer student, which allows them a little bit more drama of finding new friends and investigating the school and finding out as they go, as opposed to having a character that was already created and been there a few years. So that creates the drama. The thing is about Path to Mastery that I really like, it's like a pachinko machine or a plinko machine at first, where the ball just kind of goes brrr, and you don't know by the time you end on your senior year, if you survive, that that you have a unique character, and the replayability is very high. So when I talk about a plinko machine as opposed to a pachinko machine, a pachinko machine is what I kind of went over with my adventure, Sorcerers at Smokewater. It was based on this kind of the same idea, where a lot of random events happen at first before you even meet the characters, and then all of a sudden, then it goes off and you can go into all these different paths, and they all come to fruition later, making every group that goes in a complete experience rather than just go left or go right and let's see what happens this time. There's a lot going on. And David, I feel justified because David kind of does the exact same thing here, but he also makes it go on a plinko machine path. And the difference here is, in the first semester, it looks a little dry, okay? Because he does some, not really dry, I mean, dry as far as choices go. There's definitely a lot going on. He's explaining to you how you arrive at the school, things that are going on. But then at the end, when the choices happen, the first semester is filled with roll a d6, 1 to 4 go here, 5 to 6 go here. There's a lot of that. And that is why I call it a plinko machine, because it's like a whole bunch of little finite choices, or not choices, just events that are happening that's setting you on a path in a certain spot. Then it's going to be go after like the second semester, when that starts. There's still a few more of those random events that happen, but for the most part, it's all geared to make sure that when you have a character go through it, it ends up different every time, and it happens pretty fast. And luckily, I'm not giving away anything here on spoilers. I mean, I've gone through the adventure, but there's a lot of social interaction that's going to happen. So prepare your characters thusly, at least a little bit, because you're going to be interacting with your roommate, your mentors, your friends that you find along the way, enemies that you might make, and of course, dating as a young person. It happens in this adventure. It's quite nice and exciting. And add to the fact that there is death on the line in this school. crazy things might happen with your friends or loved ones that might send your character skyrocketing towards a different path in your adventure and in their character's life. So background things are going to be happening here heavily. One of the things I like about Path to Mastery also is, even though, it's definitely going to be some randomness into it, the paths that you choose or the decisions you make really will make the chances for your background of a character to fit that. Like if you have a more scholastic character and they're going to keep their nose to the grindstone and don't socialize a lot, it's going to reflect that. And there are opportunities to get in trouble outside the school walls, such as winter break. Go figure, you could, right? Another good thing about this Kickstarter is you're going to get Melee and Wizard for free. That's the combat system and the Wizard's rules. So even if you don't get the full role-playing game right off the bat, but you're curious, you're going to get so much of it that it's going to make you go over the edge, I think, once you get it. Now, you can use this with any role-playing game, in my opinion. It's easy to convert over. That's not a big deal, and you can have a lot of fun with it. But you're going to get Melee and Wizard, and you're definitely going to want to check that out. Now, I asked David a few questions about this over email and such, and he got back to me in short order because he's pretty excited about this. He thinks, and I agree, this is one of his best works ever. The thing is about David's work is I like to make a joke about his solos because I'm always getting killed, and I call it getting pulverized, So I asked him in one of my questions, what does this adventure rate on the pulverization scale? Right, on a scale of 1 to 10. And he said, basically, that's not it. There it is. It's about a 7, I'd say. Henry Cobb lost about 4 wizards in a row, though he kept playing goblins with very low ST. That's his shtick. That's Henry Cobb's shtick. Where's his adventure for goblins? Where's his source book for goblins? When is he going to write it? It's got to happen. You could almost take all the things that Henry Cobb has ever put on the internet, compile them together in ChatGPT, and probably come out with a source book that would get published by Steve Jackson Games within 6 months. It should just happen. But other playtesters had about a 50 to 60% success rate, and you may lose a fair number of wizards, though lost doesn't mean dead. Of course, you can barely scrape by if you have good grades, maybe, and a bad reputation, and you could barely scrape by, as I did in high school, by the skin of my teeth. Just getting off on charm alone. Maybe there's all kinds of ways that things can happen, I'm sure. So that was pretty exciting. So let's go over more of what I asked David. Now, one question I asked David is he part octopus? Because he always seems to be working on multiple projects at once. I mean, I hear he's working on this, he's working on this. It's like, how can he focus? That would drive me nuts myself. But this is his response to that. And he says, I wish. I usually work on one at a time, but it could take months or years for things to progress through various productions. So I'm writing a new GURPS book now, but my Mission X book for Gaming Ballistic is written, but it's in play testing and editing. And my solo, written and play tested over a year ago, is on Kickstarter. I imagine he's talking about this one right here. So yeah, he does work on one at a time, but he has to go back to them as things come back to him from different stages. So I knew the answer before I even asked this next one, but I had asked, hey, is there any new mechanics that we got to keep track of, or is this a straightforward adventure? And he replied, there are several new mechanics. You track the student's grade, the academic performance, that one's pretty obvious, but also reputation, the respect you earn from students and faculty, which improves when you show good character, win duels, form positive relationships, and participate in extracurriculars. Of course, this can go in reverse if you're seen as a loser, troublemaker, cheat, or coward. Both affect events during the adventure and after graduation. And that's pretty much the crux of what's going on here. This is not just an adventure, it's a prelude to adventure. I think the survival rate's actually a little bit better than even David's saying, for what I've seen anyway. I know that there are some other things going on, and I went up against some pretty tough things in situations. And in David Pulver's style, you don't know when it's going to happen. He does a really good job of hiding things, so they're not so blatantly obvious. And it is, if things do become blatantly obvious, there's something going to happen, or he's just setting you up for something in the future. Anyway, the Kickstarter as of right now has only got 2 days left. You should jump in on it for sure. And if anything, even if you just gave $1, you're going to get the Melee and Wizard PDF, so you can try the game out for yourself. Again, you don't need the Fantasy Trip to play. You can use any system, in my opinion, for an experienced game master. This is something you definitely want to jump in on, so do it now, and I'll see you next video.